Let's talk about a central conflict that, millions of people are experiencing every single day. It's a real biological paradox.
It really is.
You commit to taking medication, an antidepressant, because you're seeking stability, some clarity, mental relief, and you start to feel better emotionally, but then your stomach just goes into revolt. You're suddenly dealing with chronic bloating, this sharp nausea, cramping, or you're going back and forth between constipation and diarrhea.
Yeah, these are very, very common reports.
So the question at the heart of this deep dive is kind of unavoidable. Is the medication giving you that mental relief?
Yeah.
Also quietly trashing your gut health?
It's a crucial question, and the very first thing we have to establish is that these symptoms are absolutely not secondary. They're not all in your head.
Right.
They're real, direct biological consequences.
So that's our mission today. We're doing a deep dive into our source material to really pinpoint the biological root cause of these very common digestive side effects. And we're going to focus on the gut-brain axis, this vast kind of silent communication network that makes your body and mind, well, inseparable partners.
And that partnership is so much more intricate, more sensitive than the standard model of mental health really suggests.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we often treat the brain in isolation, right? But the research shows that what looks like severe mood dysregulation or anxiety can, often have roots in deeper systemic issues.
Like hormones.
Exactly, like hormonal imbalances. So when you introduce a medication that's designed to stabilize the brain, you're sending a chemical signal that just ripples through this already delicate, constantly communicating system. Understanding that ripple effect, that's the real path to full system wellness.
Okay, so let's ground this with a concrete fact.
Yeah.
We often call the gut the second brain. I know that sounds a bit like a metaphor, but it's actually rooted in science, right?
It is, yeah. The concept comes from the enteric nervous system. It's this incredibly complex network of neurons that lines your entire digestive tract.
Wow.
So the gut is far more than just a tube for processing food. It's a living ecosystem, home to trillions of bacteria, the microbiome.
And here's the staggering fact, the one that connects this system directly to mental health.
The numbers are just undeniable. We talk about serotonin as the happy chemical in the brain, but nearly 90% of your body's total serotonin is actually produced and stored in the gut.
90%, that's incredible.
It's not just a side function. This means your gut health plays a massive role in regulating your mood, your energy levels, and your emotional stability.
So, okay, if 90% of the key neurotransmitters being made in the gut, and a person takes an SSRI or an SNRI, medications designed specifically to regulate serotonin for the brain, that medication cannot possibly ignore the giant serotonin factory downstairs.
Precisely. It can't.
Okay, let's unpack this. If we're increasing serotonin signaling in the brain, what is the unexpected ripple effect of that action on the gut? We should get specific about SSRIs and SNRIs, which the sources identify as the primary culprits for these GI issues.
The problem arises because serotonin really has a dual function.
Yeah.
In the brain, it regulates mood. The medication inhibits its reuptake, so it's available for longer. But in the gut, serotonin acts in a fundamentally different way.
How so?
It's a crucial signaling molecule for muscle contractions, for what we call motility. Think of it as the accelerator pedal for your entire digestive tract.
The accelerator, got it.
So when an SSRI inhibits the reuptake of serotonin, it doesn't just do this in your head. It increases available serotonin throughout the whole system, including in the gut.
And down there?
Down there, that serotonin spike acts like an overzealous signaling molecule. It hits the accelerator way too hard.
Too fast.
Way too fast. It leads to hypermotility, muscle spasms, significant discomfort, and that classic side effect, diarrhea. You're trying to slow down the depressive cycle in your mind, but you end up speeding up your digestive system to a really uncomfortable degree.
That clarifies the mechanism so much. And this is why you might experience that sudden awful nausea or indigestion. The classic, shift between diarrhea and constipation, the persistent bloating, the cramping, or even those unexpected shifts in your appetite.
Exactly. These are all direct signals that the gut's engine is running too hot and that connection is out of sync.
That's the key takeaway. But you're saying the physical motility issue is only half the story.
It is. There is a second, more subtle consequence of long-term medication use, and that's the alteration of the microbiome itself.
And this is where the long-term cost for your overall wellness really comes in. How does that constant chemical pressure affect the resident bacteria?
Well, beyond the immediate stress of motility, the very presence of these compounds, it alters the ecology of the gut. We see a significant decline in key beneficial bacterial strains,
Which ones?
specifically Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium.
And why are those two strains so important?
They are vital protectors. They support mood regulation directly, and maybe more importantly, they actively maintain the integrity of the gut lining and protect against inflammation.
Okay, so let's put this all together.
Here's the synthesized insight. The serotonin overload and the chemical stress from the medication create an environment that's hostile to these protective strains. The constant state of hypermotility literally flushes them out or just stresses them to the point where they decline.
So the body's internal security guard is diminished by the very intervention that's designed to help your mood. What's the consequence of that weakened defense?
The dominoes fall exactly as you would expect. When those beneficial bacteria diminish, the gut lining weakens. You might have heard this called leaky gut in popular culture. And when that lining is compromised, the immune system flares up because it's sensing invaders.
Oh, wow.
That chronic low-level inflammation doesn't just cause physical pain. It is highly pro-depressive and pro-anxiety.
So it feeds back into the original problem.
It creates a cycle, this pattern of fatigue, further mood dips, poor digestion. It's very common in individuals managing long-term medication use, especially for anxiety or burnout. The physical symptoms begin feeding the original mental health challenge.
Wow. I mean, we started this just talking about the discomfort versus the relief, and now we can see how the gut discomfort actually creates a physical pathway to renew the mental discomfort.
They are truly biologically inseparable.
One system.
One system.
Okay, so we've laid out the problem, the mechanism. Here's where it gets really interesting, because we're not just here to diagnose the challenge. We're looking at solutions. Whether you're on medication or maybe you're exploring alternatives with your provider, what integrative steps can be taken to proactively support this entire system?
We have to shift the focus from just the brain in isolation to the entire system. The integrative approach that the sources lay out is holistic. It's designed to align the mind and the microbiome through three crucial pillars.
I have to interject here, though. If a person is already struggling with anxiety or burnout, telling them they now need to adopt three huge new health mandates, hormones, gut repair, and stress management, I mean, that can feel like a massive burden.
That's an excellent point. It can feel overwhelming.
So how do we make these steps practical and focused?
The goal is focused intervention, not just more effort.
Okay, let's start with pillar one, stabilizing the biological foundations that are underneath the mood.
Right. That means balancing hormones. Often a mood challenge stems from cortisol dysregulation or shifts in sex hormones. The sources really emphasize that comprehensive lab testing for hormone health and function is essential. You can't fix what you don't measure.
And what are the tools?
Tools like bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, or BHRT, are used not just for, say, menopausal symptoms, but to fundamentally stabilize the entire endocrine system. And that has a massive stabilizing effect on both mood and energy.
So stabilizing the engine that runs the mood. Okay. Pillar two then targets the site of the secondary damage, restoring the microbiome's balance.
This is the repair and maintenance step. It involves using targeted nutrition and specific restorative probiotics.
And this is key. We're not just talking about a generic probiotic you buy off the shelf.
Absolutely not. We mean strains that are specifically known to thrive and function even under the chemical pressure caused by the medication. And beyond supplements, the key is incorporating highly anti-inflammatory gut-healing foods. Things like bone broth, quality fibers, fermented foods, all to soothe that digestive lining that's been so stressed by hypermotility.
And finally, pillar three. This acknowledges the top-down influence. The mind can stress the gut just as much as the gut stresses the mind.
Exactly. Stress and sleep optimization.
Right.
You have to manage the environment that stresses the gut. This means implementing mindfulness techniques, targeted sleep routines, anything to actively regulate the stress hormone cortisol.
Because high cortisol just floods the body.
It does, and it directly impacts gut integrity. So the integrative approach really emphasizes stress management strategies aimed specifically at calming the vagus nerve, that's the main highway of communication between the gut and brain, to break that negative feedback loop.
This whole deep dive has really fundamentally shifted the perspective for me. The main takeaway is just so clear. If your medication has improved your mental state, but your physical symptoms, the health of your gut, feel distinctly worse, you have a system out of balance, and it requires deeper attention.
You have to look at the biology. And we want to be very clear. This discussion is about understanding that biology and protecting the entire system that supports your mental health.
It's not about shaming medication.
Not at all. This is about being proactive. Because when the hormones are aligned, the gut flora is robust, and the stress is managed, the benefit of the medication is maximized, and overall well-being just naturally follows.
That makes the question for you, the listener, incredibly relevant for the next step in your health journey. So what does this all mean?
It means you have to acknowledge the biological partnership. Serotonin's role as both a mood regulator in the brain and a critical muscle signaling molecule in the gut confirms it, your emotional state and your physical comfort. They aren't separate spiritual or psychological things. They are truly inseparable biological partners whose health must be addressed in tandem to achieve true stability.
So you can't fully heal one without attending to the other.